One of Star Citizen's biggest yearly events has come and gone for 2024, and I'm here to bring you a completely unbiased, 100% factual review of the event. We'll talk about new ships and updates, I'll sort the new offerings and changes into objectively correct categories, and then we'll talk about what this means for the future of Star Citizen. If you're not familiar with it, Invictus is a yearly Star Citizen event that happens in May. In lore, it's a celebration of people shipping off to join the good guy Space Navy. In-game, there's a big old display of military ships at the Convention Center in ArtCorp, where you can ogle ships from a rotating display of manufacturers and rent those ships for free for 48 hours. Also, a free fly occurs during Invictus, which allows players without a Star Citizen game package to play the game. Out of game, SIG opens up the ability to pledge for limited time or limited stock ships during Invictus. If you ever wanted to spend more than $1,000 on a virtual spaceship that doesn't exist in-game yet, Invictus is one of 2 yearly opportunities to do that. So that's what Invictus is. Now let's break it down into pieces and get all judgy about them. There were a few very awesome things that came out this year for Invictus or around it. The Mirai Pulse and the Mirai Pulse LX. Technically these were new vehicles for 3.23 and not Invictus, but I'm counting them here. These pint-sized hover bikes that look like either electric shavers or ladies' personal massagers are zippy, reasonably priced, and versatile. They're tiny, so they fit in a variety of ships that other, larger vehicles don't fit in. They're priced inexpensively in the Pledge store at $25 or $30, and will likely be pretty cheap once they're available in-game for AUEC. Their small size makes them multi-purpose utility vehicles that players will be able to use for all kinds of things. On-foot PvE bounties, getting to bunkers efficiently, or getting around distribution centers. Or just keeping in a ship as a backup ground vehicle if something happens to your primary. Plus, they're fun as heck to ride around on, even if there is a risk of spontaneous explosion due to collisions. I love this kind of addition to the game. Multi-purpose tools in a sandbox lead to creativity and fun shenanigans. The RSI Ursa Medevac. This new vehicle takes the Ursa frame and replaces the rear cargo/seating area with a medical bed. Similar to the base Ursa, it has a cab enclosed from the environment, entry from the front or rear of the vehicle, and a turret operable from the passenger seat. It was released along with updates to medical functionality that allow respawn at all medical beds. Possible respawn distance increases with the tier of the medical bed. This thing is great. By putting limited respawn in a mobile package, players can turn any sufficiently sized ship into a respawn point. There's massive utility here for PvE content like running bunkers or other ground-based missions. Also, there's potential for PvP utility from this vehicle in the future. I could see this being used for org vs org fights once there are more reasons to do so, especially in ground-based assaults or defenses. The Drake Ironclad and the Drake Ironclad Assault. The Ironclad was, in my opinion, the big reveal of this year's Invictus. This giant freighter holds 1,536 SCU of cargo, with a top opening hatch for easy, zero-G loading. The Assault variant holds 1,152 SCU, and features increased armament/facilities to enable ground assaults. These are concept vehicles, so we won't know all the specific stats until closer to release. But we know it will have heavy armor, and they both have decent quantities of turrets, with more turrets on the Assault flavor. I love these because they seem primed and ready for varied and emergent gameplay. Players will find all kinds of purposes for them. I intend to load it up with Furies and turn it into a pocket carrier, but I'm sure folks will find tons of uses for it given the large open cargo bay, ramp, and easy loading access. Honorable mention for the good category is the actual in-game Invictus event at the ArtCorp Area 18 Convention Center. Seeing the Polaris exterior live was awesome, and I love walking through the convention hall and seeing the ships. It's a fun, free, limited-time piece of the game that can be inspiring to new players, and it always feels worth the time to take a few minutes during the event to walk through. Now let's talk about the new Invictus releases that I was less than impressed by. The MPUV Tractor. This new MPUV variant is a small cargo mover that uses a pair of tractor beams to move cargo boxes. Basically a tender designed to load cargo onto larger ships or between large ships. It has no quantum drive, so will generally be at stations or landing pads to load and unload. Or there are some ships, like the Idris, that will have designated hangars or slots for an MPUV to attach. I have some issues with this release, though. We already have a cargo hauling MPUV. Granted, it's only 2 internal SCU, but a similar ship already existed, and now we have a new ship that is plainly better. Why haul 2 SCU cargo inside your ship when you can grab much bigger boxes with a tractor beam? Seems like a clear case of power creep. Surely SIG wouldn't be okay with offering a clearly better alternative just to sell a new ship, would they? Cargo loading gameplay does not really exist in-game yet. This is promised to come soon, but I don't see the MPUV tractor being that useful for loading cargo from a hangar. And the one ship that really needs to be loaded to external racks, the Hull C, is horribly riddled with bugs at the moment to the point of unusability. There is an argument that the MPUV makes a good LTI token. It can be bought with lifetime insurance now and upgraded to another ship with CCUs, taking the good lifetime insurance along to end up with a more expensive ship having the good insurance. Aside from the fact that we lack a clear picture of what insurance will look like upon full release, it seems poopy to offer a $35 ship whose chief current functionality is being traded in for another ship. I get that this whole project is funded through ship sales, but for $35 you could buy a whole host of excellent, full-featured actual games. And if someone really wanted to buy a vehicle this Invictus just to have an LTI token, they could buy a Pulse and have a cool, cheaper, actually useful vehicle. This makes the MPUV tractor a nothing burger in my eyes. If you think I'm wrong about the MPUV tractor, or anything else, please feel free to drop a comment below and tell me why I'm wrong. I love to hear your takes. The next release I wasn't a fan of. Smallish, agile fighter with a single pilot. Small guns, large complement of missiles. Limited time availability ship. No, you dummy, it's not the glorious bird-themed annoyer of enemies, the Talon Shrike. We're talking about the Invictus straight-to-flyable release, the Saber Firebird. Based on the community-beloved Saber platform, this is a small, stealthy fighter with an outsized complement of missiles. Initially advertised with 12 size 3 missiles, SIG updated the count mid-Invictus to match the Talon Shrike with 24 size 3s. Additionally, where most ships can fire a maximum of 4 missiles at a time, the Firebird can lock and fire 6. This ship vexes me for a few reasons. For starters, it's very close to the functionality of the Talon Shrike, except with increased hit points and speed. Initially, the Shrike had an edge in missile count and agility, but with the update to missile count, all the Shrike has now is a bit of agility. But in the current model, speed is a very important part of agility, because it allows you to dictate the pace of engagements and disengage when needed. So we have a new ship, highly similar to an old ship, but largely superior, and being sold at a higher price. This is power creep for the sake of ship sales. I'm okay with the idea of not everything being perfectly balanced. Some ships are just better than others at combat. No matter how much I love my little camper van Drake Cutter, I know it won't beat an F-8 in a fight, but to so clearly upstage the Shrike with a same but better missile boat seems poopy. That, in addition to the fact that the Firebird is a somewhat lazy variation on an existing chassis, and the lack of any Pontiac-inspired paints, makes me put the Saber Firebird firmly in the bad category. And now we come to the last category, the ugly. And I'll talk about what I see as the very worst part of this year's Invictus event, and that is the state of the servers during the event. In my opinion, the biggest issue which prevented me from suggesting it to more friends during the free flight period was the unstable servers and inconsistent gameplay. Ever since 3.23 dropped, I have experienced some pretty spicy bugs around storing cargo that have eaten my cargo multiple times. Since storing cargo is core to space trucking, salvage, and mining, this makes those gameplay loops close to unplayable. So we're left with bunkers and ground bounties, or space-based bounties. Space-based bounties are still getting tuned after the release of master modes. My experience has been that it's generally less fun to do space combat with NPCs these days. Master Mode's current tunings and NPC AI turned space combat from a fast-moving ballet to a knife fight in a coat closet with butter knives. So if we look at bunkers, the FPS AI has been great with recent changes, when the servers are running well. But with changes to the replication layer causing generally slow server FPS most of the time, running bunkers feels like clubbing seals in 3.23. These things combined leave playing this game I love sometimes feeling like a chore during the current patch. Now, I understand Star Citizen is in development. It's an alpha. I've heard all the arguments. But I can't help but feel like some steps could have been taken to stabilize the servers. If nothing else, maybe a temporary reboot/refresh of the servers every 24 or 12 hours could help keep them running at an acceptable level. I get that we're building towards a grand and glorious simulation, but when we make it harder for servers to die with dignity by splitting replication from game servers, things persist even longer than they did before. And this is a game where empty drink bottle persistence has been implemented for more than a year, but we don't have a working trash can to put the drink bottles in to remove them from game. Long story longer, I understand we're playing an alpha, but we are also playing a live service game, and I'd appreciate if SIG would prioritize that piece of things a bit more consistently. To sum it up, Invictus this year was a good time despite the issues. I love spaceships, I love shenanigans with friends, and despite the server issues, I remain hopeful about the overall direction of the project. I think 2024 is going to be a great year for Star Citizen. We're getting more real dev attention due to folks from Squadron 42 moving over, and I can't wait to see server meshing in Pyro. Thanks for hanging out and listening to my insane ramblings. If you want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.